God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside.
April Fools, God is dead. Probably not the best day to pick. God's Not Dead 2. I thought the first one was bad, the second one was almost as bad, and a lot of people have been asking me to do a review, and I held off because I wanted to wait until I'd actually seen the movie, which I finally did because I like to torture myself. So I'm gonna go through and debunk a lot of what was said in this movie, but the takeaway are 4 main things. If you know these 4 things, you pretty much don't even need to go see the movie. Number 1, atheists are horrible, evil people. They are to be feared. They are the villain. They want to take away your right to believe what you want to believe. 2, Christians are extremely oppressed, even though a lot of times they force their God into government, into schools, into your bedroom. They are the ones oppressed and you need to know it. 3, prayer heals everything. If you have cancer, pray. It's gone. If you're in court, pray. You'll be set free. And 4, there's absolutely nothing in the Constitution, 0, not a zilch, that backs up the separation of church and state. That's just a myth that people made up. Okay, great. Now that you know those 4 points, you don't need to watch the movie. I just saved you a lot of time and pain. And for your viewing pleasure, I filmed my experience going to see this movie. There you have it. Oh man, here we go. I remember being so embarrassed to give the guy our ticket saying, yep, we're going to see God's Not Dead 2. Which movie are you guys going to see? God's Not Dead 2? What? But then he saw it on the tickets and told me which theater to go to and told us that also there'd probably be no one there. Which was true and actually kind of fun. So many people are here! Yeah! That just happened. Was probably the best movie I've ever seen. Totally changed my life. I'm gonna be a Christian now.
I definitely found God in there.
I found him too. It was a really dark theater, but we're the only ones in there, and God. So it's kind of easy.
We need to make sure at the end it told us to text everyone we know and say God's not dead, so that...
Yep, at the end of the movie, just like at the end of the first one, it said to text everyone, God's not dead. So this is my challenge to everyone watching this video. Text as many people as you possibly can, God's not dead. Get their responses, screenshot it, and post it on Instagram or wherever you want, and tag me in it because I would love to see people being like, what? Okay, so the movie starts, and the very first thing that annoyed me was the reporter, the lady from the first movie. I'm sure all you guys remember her because you all watched the first movie. In the first movie, she was diagnosed with cancer, and she was very worried about it, and she was this atheist, mean lady the entire movie, and then by the end, she found Jesus, and that was a great comfort to her. And then in the second movie, at the very beginning, she was cured! Cancer gone. And of course, this is a very emotional moment finding this out, so she calls her religious friends, and they're like, well, yeah, didn't you pray for it? I'm not even exaggerating. That is what happened. They were like, duh, you prayed for it, so that's why it's gone, silly. Okay, maybe that was a little exaggerated, but that's what happened. They acted as though it was an obvious thing that since she prayed, the cancer was gone. That's how that shit works, you know? Every single human being with half a brain cell would respond to this by saying, well, what about all the religious people that do have cancer, that pray for it to go away, that die because it doesn't go away because prayer is actually not a cure? Well, to you I say, God works in mysterious ways. Duh. That's also duh. The healing is duh, and the mysterious ways is duh, so no matter what happens, duh, therefore God. Don't argue with me. But even with that said, I would have to say the most irritating thing in the entire movie was this concept that they kept bringing up over and over and over again, that there is nothing that actually says the church and state should be separated in the Constitution. A lot of you guys probably remember Melissa Joan Hart as Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I know I grew up on that show, I really loved it, and it's so painful for me to watch her turn into this. She was recently interviewed about her role, and she said this: today there are a lot of Christians being persecuted for their faith. Maintaining the strict separation of church and state has been taken to a new level, quote, far beyond the freedoms this country was founded on. I saw this and I was like, no, she doesn't actually really think this, but she does.
It definitely educated me, and I think both of us, on a lot of different levels. I mean, to learn that, first of all, separation of church and state is not in our Constitution or Declaration. It's in a letter from Thomas Jefferson to a Baptist church. There's that little fact that I think was interesting.
That little fact, that I thought was interesting, no one else knows this. This is one of those arguments that Christians bring up all of the time, and you would think like a 2-second Google search could fix this, but no. Don't want to actually research and learn anything that wouldn't go along with our agenda. The Establishment Clause of the Religion Clause is the first of several pronouncements in the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, stating, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. This, by the way, was written in 1789, well before Jefferson's letter that you speak of in 1802. The Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause are what make up that wall of separation between church and state. And Jefferson was aware of that in this letter that he was writing. And this whole concept was solidified in 1878 in a case known as Reynolds versus the United States. Look it up. But this movie conveniently forgot to include that little tidbit of information.
There's that little fact that I think was interesting.
And therefore they use this lack of separation of church and state theme throughout the entire movie, including a song by the Newsboys, which are the same people that sang the God's Not Dead theme. They made this new song called Guilty, Standing for Christ.
When did it become breaking a rule to say your name out loud in school?
Well, it became breaking a rule in 1978, you fool.
When did it become incorrect to speak the truth about life and death?
It probably became incorrect when you said it because it's wrong.
If serving
What the hell is this guy doing? Look at his face.
to speak the truth about life and death.
I love how they call their version of what they would like to be true, the truth, and just apply it to everyone. I just want to speak the truth. If someone is Muslim, it's not their truth. And that's one thing that frustrates me. Imagine if this whole scenario were about Islam rather than Christianity. Imagine if you had somebody saying, when did it become breaking a rule to, teach the Quran in school? I just don't understand. Guarantee you all the Christians would be outraged at that shit.
The most basic human right of all is the right to believe.
Oh yeah, that's another thing that frustrates me. They act as though the right to believe is being questioned here. It's not. Actually, the separation of church and state is necessary for people to have the right to believe. As necessary as it is to protect people from religion, it's to protect people's religion. You should be happy about this.
What makes nonviolence so radical is its unwavering commitment to a nonviolent approach.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry, I have to stop this for a second. She just said the most basic, stupid sentence as though it were super profound. What makes nonviolence so radical is its unwavering commitment to a nonviolent approach. Apparently nonviolence commits to a nonviolent approach. I just never would have thought that.
What makes nonviolence so radical is its unwavering commitment to a nonviolent approach.
Isn't that sort of like what Jesus meant when he said that we should love our enemies?
Yes.
And again, I need to stop you here. The reason why this girl is even asking about Jesus is because earlier in the movie, she lost her brother and was sad about it and went to this teacher at a coffee shop and asked this teacher for advice of some kind, and the teacher said, the answer is Jesus. You can't do that. You cannot preach Jesus to your students.
You have heard it said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you.
This could have so easily been answered. She could have said, the Christian belief states that blank. So according to Christian beliefs, yes, Jesus would have this way of thinking. But still, I don't think that that's that huge of a deal. Like, I wouldn't have been outraged at that if that happened, although a lot of people probably would be outraged if it were the Quran being taught to their students instead of the Bible. I would, however, have taken issue if I were this girl's parent with a teacher after school hours saying Jesus is all you need to overcome the loss of your sibling. I plan on raising my future children secular, and that shit would piss me off. If you want your children indoctrinated, then do it yourself or send them to a religious school. You have that right. I also have the right to not do that. Separation.
And your answer incorporated the words of Jesus.
Which, like I said before, isn't necessarily always a bad thing in the proper context. But of course, they're just gonna make you look like Christianity is being super persecuted.
No prayers, no moments of silence, nothing.
They denied God's existence. It really has nothing to do with denying God's existence. It has to do with not preaching it to children in school. No moments of silence, no prayers, as though it's this evil thing. But yeah, there shouldn't be prayers in a secular school. This, of course, however, is not saying that kids on their free time or in whatever groups they choose to form on their own, that they can't pray. It's not saying you can't pray on your own. It's saying that teachers and people in positions of power are not allowed to lead the entire class in prayer.
We're at war.
We're at war? War. They actually think that there is a war on Christianity. For years, I have been making videos on this channel trying to stand up for the rights that people are losing because of religion. For so long, people who are religious have had the upper hand. They've gotten spoiled. They've gotten used to getting whatever they want. And now that these extra privileges are being taken away from them and they're being put on a level playing field as everyone else, they think that they're being persecuted. And they actually have the audacity to call it a war. These courtrooms, I don't know if they showed it or not in the movie, I didn't catch this, but you have to swear in on a Bible. Did the oppressed Christians notice that when they walked into this courtroom?
Mr. Kane will insist faith isn't on trial here. But that is exactly what is on trial.
No, it's not. That is not what's on trial. What is on trial is the fact that teachers are not allowed to preach to their students. And then they go the route trying to say, well, Jesus was actually a historical person and that's a proven fact. Therefore, anytime I ever say anything about Jesus in a classroom, it's just a historical thing, and therefore I can say it as fact because facts and history and facts and stuff. I mean, it's not preaching, it's just teaching, because teachers teach history, and if you exclude Jesus, then you can't even teach history, and that's totally, like, not fair.
You're looking to prove that Jesus Christ existed?
And then they call up these people as witnesses who have written books that testify to the validity of Jesus as a historical person. And I've heard these arguments before, and that's fine. What pisses me off is that in a courtroom setting, normally you present one side of the argument and then you present the other side of the argument, but nowhere ever was there a person saying, actually, I don't think that Jesus was a historical figure and here's why. And trust me, those arguments exist, but of course, they weren't presented.
If we're going to insist that a Christian's right to believe is subordinate to all other rights, then it's not a right.
No one's saying that it's subordinate. We're just taking away the privilege, and now they feel like they're subordinate. It doesn't matter what religion is being preached to a classroom. It's equally not okay. Again, this is a thing for you, not against you. And one last disturbing thing I want to point out to you guys. At the end of this movie, it said anybody going through a similar situation should report it to the ADF, otherwise known as the Alliance Defending Freedom. The Human Rights Campaign describes the ADF as one of the nation's most dangerous organizations working to prevent equality for LGBT people. That's right, besides the boatload of cash from the producers and contributors, the whole point of this movie was to promote a view of religious freedom that promulgates the right of Christians to discriminate against LGBT people. Talk about hypocrisy, and they still, after all of that, they still feel like they're the ones being persecuted. It's really amazing.
You are the board, I charge you with contempt!
I have no reason for showing that clip, I just think it's funny that the gavel breaks. With contempt!
I accept the charge!
I accept the charge, I am a noble martyr.
He's surely alive! Come on! God's not dead, he's surely alive! He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead.
He's surely alive, he's okay, you guys are watching that. That's embarrassing. Anyways, this movie sucked balls, so let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Like this video if you liked it, share it everywhere. All my social media links are in the description below. If you want to see the vlog of me actually going to this movie, I included a lot more footage from that day. I'll have a link to that in the description below and also at the end of this video. And one last thing, I'm doing a Q&A on Patreon for everybody who's supporting me there, so if you have any questions, I'm responding to every single one of them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! He's on